With Grant Ramey, Brent Hubbs, Volquest.com. Time for the fast break presented by our good friends at Exterior Home Solutions as Tennessee falls in Starkville, Mississippi in their second SEC game of the year. Grant, Vols lose 77-72. Give me your big takeaway from Tennessee's rally that comes up short.
Another slow start on the road, another digging too much of a hole away from home and trying to dig out of it. It just didn't work. It wasn't as bad as North Carolina, giving up whatever it was, 62 in the first half in that game and trying to come back down from 26. But to get down 15 against a Mississippi State team that's hard to beat at home, pretty good, pretty physical, good defensively, and got some big men that can abuse you if you let them. And to come back and hit shots the way they did in the second half, that was impressive. But it's tough on the road. It's even tougher when you get behind like that Tennessee's got behind. I think North Carolina might have been their last true road game, even though that was in November. And it kind of just looks like something similar like that. And now Tennessee turned around and goes to Georgia on Saturday. So they're going to figure out something here with these slow starts on the road.
Yeah, definitely the slow start's a killer, yet Tennessee finds a way to get back. They tie the game at 62. They tie it again at 72. They just never, I mean, they had multiple opportunities, Grant. They just never could get over the hump and get the lead. It wasn't that necessarily State answered every time. It was Tennessee with a lot of self-inflicted wounds down the last 4 or 5 minutes of this basketball game.
Yeah, there was one I remember, Santiago Vesca at the top of the key. He pump faked about 4 times on a three. I think right after they had tied it, gone on that run. And I don't know, was it over the hump at Humphrey Coliseum, pun intended or no?
No, no pun intended there.
Well, there's a good one, but yes, that's correct. They got down two, they got down three, they even tied it a couple times, but it just felt like they could never. If they could have taken the lead, if they could have strung a couple possessions, more possessions together, where they could have gone up 2 or 4 or something, like Rick said after the game, put a little bit more pressure on Mississippi State because they turned it around so quickly. That spurt, I think it was a 9-0 run in 37 seconds. They hit 3 straight threes to get it back to a 3-point game after being down 15 in the first minute of the final minute of the first half. So for them to come back the way they did, there are some silver linings. Dalton Connect, we saw him come back to the life for the first time in probably a month. We saw Zakai Ziegler continue to play at this crazy pace that he's played at for the last 2-3 weeks or whatever it's been, maybe the last month for him. So there are some positives, but this team on the road, they've dug themselves in holes that they do a good job fighting out of, but it's just really hard to fight out of all the way back and expend that much energy just trying to get back in the game and then to be able to close it out and finish it. And when you have Tolu Smith having his way in the post like he did today, Tennessee's got to figure out too. That's another thing that Rick kept talking about post game was they got to be better down low. The bigs they can't. They got to be better against better bigs. The more productive guys that they've played have really had they've had a tough time stopping. So they're going to have to find some answers down there, and they're going to have to find some answers to start fast on the road and to not have to dig out of these holes.
All right, Grant, my last question to you to wrap it up. Bigger concern if you're Rick Barnes, defending in the post against productive, offensive-driven big men, or your two seniors going 0 for 6 from the three-point line and only making a couple of field goals and not combining to get in double digits when you talk about Santi and Josiah? What's the bigger concern there?
I think the bigger concern is the bigs right now because we've seen it more frequently from them. I think Josiah has been one of the better players for most of the season pretty consistently. He's had probably the best start to a season of his career. So tonight was kind of the first it felt like off night for him, maybe. Maybe going back to Maui, I don't know. Santi had a kind of slow start, and then he kind of turned it on a little bit later, a couple of weeks into the season. So they've played good bigs. Hunter Dickinson, Zach Edey at Purdue, Tolu Smith's a really good big. So it's not like they're getting beat by bad bigs, but they just got to figure out a way to defend. I think that's the bigger concern for Rick Barnes coming out of this game because that's what he spent the most time talking about, just stressing that with the armbar rules, you can't be getting back down the way Tolu Smith backed him down. And when he faces the basket, you can't let him score or get fouled, which it felt like every time he faced the basket it happened because they lost defensive position. And when they can't guard the post, then somebody has to collapse down and help you. And then there's that kick out. And it's Rick Barnes said it's hard to get down in the post. It's even harder to get back out of the post and defend the 3-point line. So the bigs are something that's got to change because they don't have a ton of depth there. They've got Jonas Adu, they've got Tobe Owaka. You don't trust JP Estrella in these minutes. You don't trust Cade Phillips in these minutes. As we saw tonight because of the foul trouble, we never saw either of those two guys, despite Jonas fouling out and Tobe having 4 fouls. So they got to figure something out there. They got to be better defenders, and they got to be better not picking up as many fouls.
Yeah, in Tennessee, let's an opportunity get away as they battle back from a big time 15-point deficit to get themselves in a position to have a chance to win on the road and could not pull it out. We're learning it's hard to win on the road in college basketball. You're seeing that all around the country. But Tennessee, with work to do as they continue on the road, it's in Athens, Georgia on Saturday. We got full coverage of the Vols at Mississippi State. We'll have full coverage of Tennessee and Georgia as well. That's going to do it for this edition of the Fast Break presented by our good friends at Exterior Home Solutions. Your roof, it's the most important protection against nature for your home or your business. That's why I trust the experts at Exterior Home Solutions.